guys. Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Married to Medicine. This is season 9, the third part of the reunion, and the final part of the season. Before we get into it, thank you for all the people that's been rocking with me this season. I got some new subscribers because of my reviews, and I appreciate y'all. So let's get into this part that low-key I feel like wasn't needed. That, they could have just added this part and made it like a whole extra 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes, or an hour. We could have just had 2 parts. But we here now, so let's get to it. So the episode opens up where it left off, where the men are still on the stage and they're having a discussion about the whole U-Haul joke. And I said pretty much what I felt on my last review. But all in all, I just think it's kind of weird that everyone's trying to act like you try not to validate Eugene's feelings. I saw a lot of people online and even in other reviews saying Eugene is just butthurt about it and he's taking it on too strong, like it's not that serious. But I'm like, oftentimes everybody gets on this app and other apps and talks about how we should all be trying to validate people's experiences and feelings. And I'm like, this man is actually being very he's communicating his feelings very effectively, and I feel like it's weird that a lot of people are not seeing that, because he's saying like, you made the joke, I didn't like the way the joke made me feel, I didn't like being the butt of the joke, I don't like when people make fun of my financial situations, and if I'm telling you this, I feel like you should respect that. And Kieran's not respecting that. Kieran is still trying to find a way to get around taking accountability, and I think that's the main issue. Like, dude, you just say you thought it was funny and he started to hurt your feelings, and leave it at that. Don't come back and be like, but it was funny. You should have just said it in your head. You should have just been like, you know what? I ain't mean to hurt your feelings. I thought it was funny, but clearly it wasn't funny to you, and I'm sorry about that. No one's saying that you can't think it was funny. My thing is there's no way that you can say that y'all didn't mean to poke them with what you did, because your wife and his wife were not cool. Anila and Toya were not on speaking terms or good in that way. So of course no one would think that is funny. And I'm like, okay, now if we're gonna say that U-Haul thing was funny, now if Eugene and Toya show up at CPS next Halloween, don't be pissed. Don't be pissed, because it's funny, because a lot of people out here think you guys don't know how to take care of your own kids. So I'm just like, if we gonna start doing those things, because people's financial status, for some, is very personal, just like people's kids is very personal. So if someone's telling you that hurt my feelings, just acknowledge it and move on. And that's not what Kieran is doing. I thought it was funny when Damon was laughing when Kieran was trying to what's it called? Basically trying to give his explanation, because Damon was smirking with his head down, bro, now you know, bro. Now you know. And I'm like, yeah, it's not that. And then for them to be like, well, what if Cecil and Simone did it, because Toya and Eugene and Cecil and Simone are supposed to be cool, and Eugene said I still would have had an issue with it. And Cecil even said, yo, I thought it was funny, but then when I spoke to Eugene, he basically told me he didn't find it funny, and I just I didn't harp on it anymore because he told me how he felt. And then they wanted to bring up the whole situation with Moly Mo, where Eugene made the joke where he was like, what's it called? Back in it was a couple seasons back when Mariah and Aiden were on, where he was like, yeah, Curtis out here dunking in everybody's basket. Well, it kind of adds to what Eugene is saying, in my opinion, because Eugene was like, he was confronted by Curtis. Curtis said he didn't like what the joke that was made. It hurt him and Jackie. Eugene apologized to Jackie and Curtis, and acknowledged that he hurt their feelings, and they moved on. And for Curtis to be like, well, that was really hurtful. Well, sir, we're not the ones that got caught in 4K boarding a plane and holding hands with a woman that wasn't his wife. You was the one out here in these streets being a hussy and a whore. What are we talking about? We wouldn't be making fun of you or you and Jackie wouldn't be the butt of the joke if you, sir, didn't embarrass her to a public extent. What are you, I was just like, Curtis, shut up in your red suit. So they move on from that, and then they talk about the O shot versus the P shot. But then the most cringiest thing that has ever happened this season is Scott getting on my screen, rapping like he was in a 5th grade talent show in the 80s. I was so uncomfortable. This secondhand embarrassment. I was just like, oh my gosh. Why? Like, why, sir? And then you got Contessa over here with her phone doing this in the back. I said, girl, you gonna put your phone down and go get your husband off that stage from embarrassing you. Now that's grounds to get a separation and a divorce, because you not gonna. I was just like, oh my gosh. And y'all, when I tell you, I'm not even joking about how uncomfortable I was hitting the 15-second button, like, to fast forward through this whole entire thing on my computer. I was just like, no, sir, no. Because I stopped at the point where he was like, with the microphone, is this my camera? Because I look in your eyes. Because I look in your eyes. I said, this man got on this tacky white suit, rapping lyrics from his diary like he is in a talent show in 5th grade. I'm uncomfortable and I don't like it. And I was just like, it was embarrassing, and it made it worse because the men were making jokes about it, but Scott thought they was like really, like, bigging him up, because Karen was giggling. You got Cecil and Eugene doing his hand movements. Curtis and Damon are just like, yeah, that's his life. And I was just like, Contessa just sitting there on the couch. I said, oh my gosh. So now everybody's on the stage. All the men and women are on the stage. They do a montage of everybody's, like, couple events and things of that nature. They then start to bring up Toya's comments. And this is what really got the streets online talking, was the whole Eugene Toya versus Quad. So they bring up they bring up Toya making the comment about, like, no one told me that when you get married that your husband's penis size wouldn't grow. So everyone was like, you basically alluded to saying that Eugene has a small penis, and that's a person's manhood. Shouts out to Quad. Like, you don't make fun of that. So then they asked Quad, and Quad was like, I think Eugene will laugh at what Toya says in the moment because that's his wife and he's not going to go against her. But on the inside, he's breaking down. I also feel like Eugene is always cleaning up on aisle 5 of Toya's messes, and Toya, like, doesn't do the same for him. So Toya's like, no, you're right. He laughed, but he was hurt, and I apologize for it. They then they were like, Toya's jokes aren't funny, they're hurtful. Where Eugene says to Quad, you have said way worse things than Toya has ever said, and what you say hurt worse. And Quad is looking at him like, okay. And no, I don't. Like, basically saying, like, no, the things that your wife says is a lot worse. Toya comes in and says, well, you called my husband Eugina. Like, you called him a bitch. Like, that's what you did. And Quad, again, using Nene's line, I said what I said, in her best Tyler Perry voice. I said what I said. And then Andy's like trying to, like, get in between them and says, well, Quad, you said this. And Quad is like, I know what I said. And Andy's looking at her like, girl, take it down a couple of notches. So then he reads out the tweet, and the tweet basically, to summarize it, was, she added Eugene and Dr. Heavenly in it. Basically said, Dr. Heavenly told Eugene to stay out of women's business. I'm going to give Eugene some Viagra and a penis pump and something called Cialis, well, whatever that mess is called. I don't know what it is. And gift it to him. So then Eugene is like, what's your issue with us? Like, referring to him and Toya. And she was like, I don't have an issue with y'all. What's y'all's issue with me? Y'all always taking divorce digs at me. And Eugene's like, no, we're not. And she was like, that basket. And Eugene said, well, you thought it was funny. You thought it was cute. So what are we talking about? You accepted it. And then, like, Eugene was like, we can move on because she miserable. I'm not about to argue with somebody that's miserable. So they start going back and forth. Toya is like, I told Eugene not to talk to her. Let me address her. And then Toya's like, Quad, until you have a man that can sit behind you and address Eugene, address me. So then Quad takes that as a dig, saying that, like, are you trying to say I can't get no man, Toya? And Toya is looking at her like, girl, I don't care what you can or cannot get. Like, you don't have one. But don't address my husband. Now, to me, I always find that whole like argument to be stupid. Yes, there's certain instances where like you shouldn't address the spouse. You should address yeah, you shouldn't address the spouse. You should address the other person if it's the same gender or all that stuff. But like, if we're having an argument and say I'm a man and a woman kicks it off, or I'm a woman and a man kicks it off, I'm arguing with the person that kicked it off with me. I'm not going around the block to talk to your girlfriend. I'm not doing that. We're going to sit here and have this argument, and it is what it's going to be and how it's gonna be. And so they're going back and forth. They make the whole miserable comment. Quad is like, I'm miserable, but your wife's sitting on the stage crying. And in all honesty, y'all, I do think Quad is miserable. I think Quad has a facade and is a fraud. There's nothing wrong with Quad having the money that she has. I think that's wonderful that at her age she is as successful as she is, that she's able to build this beautiful home that she has, that I would love to have her backyard, that she's able to help her nephew and her mom and take care of the people around her and not feel like she's taking away from herself. Like it's not what's the word? It's not a hindrance to her own lifestyle in certain ways, especially financially. But the truth of the matter is the whole entire third part and even part of the second part of this reunion, Quad just seemed angry, like very like angry. And I was like, girl, what is it? What is it? And I know a lot of people are like, it's jealousy. Like they're jealous that Quad got away. No, I genuinely think Quad is miserable. I think there is something that Quad has not let us know, does not want us to know that is going on. Because this whole third part, it was very like, she even got into it with Heavenly when I was like, Heavenly ain't even like, and we'll talk about that as I continue the review, where she came at Heavenly, and I was like, girl, you can clearly tell Heavenly is joking. She's joking. Like, why are you like about it? And I do feel like there's something up with Quad. Like, I know a lot of people are like, well, a man doesn't make you happy. No, a man does not make you happy. No other person should make you happy. You have to be happy with yourself because that person can go any time. But I do think there's something in Quad's life that is not fulfilled in some aspects. I also think Quad is still holding on to the fact that Eugene and Toya were very vocal about her not being on the show anymore after Dr. Gregory and her got a divorce. Like, Eugene and Toya were rarely like, why is she still on this show? She's not married to Medicine. And the truth of the matter is, Quad isn't married to Medicine. She's not married to a doctor anymore. She's not even in the medical field. To me, if Quad was in like healthcare administration, if she was still doing her sales rep job, because I think Quad was doing I think she was either like a pharmaceutical rep or a medical equipment rep, I would get why she would still be on the show, but she's no longer in that part of this, in that spectrum of the show. Yes, she's cool with like with certain people in the cast, but it's just like, well, girl, are you doing outreach programs for the community in the medical field? She's not doing anything to associate her with Married to Medicine. Now, I know people go up for Quad, and I get it, but I just think that she just seems so, like, it was just a lot. Like, I was very kind of, like, put off by that energy, because I was like, Quad, calm down. Like, calm down. Like, you cannot be this butthurt about them saying that you sleep with married men. Because in that regard, Toya can be just as angry as you saying that she out here cheating on her husband. Now, I get it. It's been a dig at you since the whole Mariah thing, but it's always going to follow you the more you stay on this show. And that's the thing I feel like people in reality TV don't get. Whatever happens on this show is always going to be thrown back in your face. That was a dig when you and Mariah were having beef. People ain't like you during that time, just like they didn't like Mariah. And so they're always going to throw that in your face. Honestly, the person you should be more mad at is Heavenly and Simone. Heavenly spoke about that rumor very openly with Anila, and somewhat Simone confirmed it. So I'm just like, be mad at them, not Toya. But I do think she's still holding on to that they tried to get her off the show. I think that's why she's loyal to Heavenly, because Heavenly was one of the people that petitioned for her to get back on the show. But it is weird to me. It is weird, because I was just like, I'm gonna let it go. That lady just seemed angry all the time. But let's move on. We then get to the situation with Damon and Contessa and the whole altercation that happened at Cecil and Simone's home. And honestly, what it boils down to is that everybody talking about everybody when it comes to this situation. And like I said, I think both Heavenly and Contessa are in the wrong. But I do think it's weird that Contessa is trying to act like we did not see last season. Like we did not see you dragging your husband. Scott was vocal. Scott basically said he felt like Heavenly was kicking him when he was down. When the whole situation happened on her YouTube channel. Damon even said like it sucks when the women fight, but I think in this segment Damon really showed through because not showed through but really shined because he basically gave like a what's it called he gave a PSA for himself. He was like, my name is Dr. Gregory Kynes. I talk slow. I think very long and hard about what I'm going to say. I'm not going to fight with women. Now, if it's a man, it's whatever. But I'm not going to fight with women. And it was to response of when Andy asked, like, what do you think about the men, solving situations versus the women? And Damon said, we can argue, like, hash our things out and move on. The women seem to always be talking behind each other's backs about things. And so Contessa chimes in and was like, well, if you felt this way, why didn't you call me? And Damon looked at Contessa like, girl, we not that cool where I'm going to do that. Like, I'm not going to cross that line with you. Heavenly's like, I did call you, Contessa. And then I found out that you was talking trash about me to Quad, and Quad came back and told me. And Quad's like, hold up. And Contessa's like, what did I say? Excuse me. And Heavenly's like, you told Quad that I was the one that told everyone about the rumor. And Contessa's like, you did. It's on film. And then they did roll it back to when Anila and Heavenly were talking about it. And Heavenly told Anila, don't say nothing. And Anila was like, girl, I'm not going to say nothing. So Quad also said that I said that you should, and it was after the whole ambush situation. And Quad said, I told Contessa that there had to be a different way to do this. And Contessa said, well, if she can handle us the way she handles us on her YouTube channel, then I can handle her on this way too, because this is my platform. And this just confirmed to me that Quad, Heavenly, and Contessa be talking trash about each other. Like, it goes in a circle. As much as they be saying that everybody else be talking about each other, the three of them be really talking about each other. So Heavenly tries to deflect the conversation onto Simone, saying Simone should have known I wasn't ready. And Simone's whole thing is like, everyone seemed to be good after the Las Vegas trip. And she said, Heavenly's like, well, Simone, like my mom and everything. And like, Simone was like, in hindsight, yes, but like it just, I didn't like the fact that that's how Damon left my house. And Damon said, I told Cecil, I'm not in the mood with all that rah-rah stuff. Like, I'm tired, and if they get to yelling, I'm leaving. And that's what he did. We find out that he just worked several hours of a shift, and you could tell what he did because he had on scrubs. So, I mean, I got where Damon was coming from, where he was just like, I'm tired of y'all yelling. Y'all always be talking over me. And he was right to the point where Kieran had to step in and tell them, like, can he finish what he's saying? And Contessa's like, no. Like, we're having this conversation now where it was Quad, Heavenly, and Contessa going back and forth. And low-key, I do see that there might be a way for Heavenly and Toya to come together, because in this segment, Toya was being very respectful towards Heavenly and Damon, even though Heavenly don't be giving that to them. Because Toya told Contessa, let Damon finish. Like, didn't he just ask you to let him speak? So let him finish. And he finished, as well as when she was asked, like, do you think it's okay for Damon to tell Heavenly to be quiet? And Toya was like, yeah. Like, everybody has different ways they communicate in their marriage. Like, he should be able to tell her to be quiet when, like, there's something going on, as well as the same thing. And Heavenly was like, well, Damon always lets me get away with stuff. Now, if he's telling me to be quiet out of the 98 times I be getting on here being wrong, then I definitely need to be quiet. So things got turned kind of aggressive really fast, because out of nowhere, Quad and Heavenly started going back and forth, where Quad was trying to talk to Damon, be like, Damon, do you really know what your wife be doing in that closet? And again, Toya kind of stood up for Heavenly, where Quad was like, she be dragging all of us and on her channel in that closet. And Toya spoke up and she was like, it's not just Heavenly, it's all of us. And I was like, okay, there might be a way for Toya and Heavenly to be cool in some level. And Heavenly tells Quad, don't talk to my husband, talk to me. And Quad's like, no, I'm gonna talk to him. I can talk to him, and like Heavenly's whole thing is like, I'm telling you not to talk to my husband. Respect that and don't talk to my husband. And then I think Quad said something about, are you acting like I slept with the man? And Heavenly looked at her and said, "Nah, beat your ass." And then all of a sudden, Quad got real where she was like, I like to see that. I like to see that. And then Quad was like, and I'll beat you back or something like that. And Heavenly was like, girl, I was playing. Because then Andy was like, ain't nobody beating nobody's ass. And I was like, Quad, why are you so angry right now? Like, clearly y'all were having a banter back and forth. And you could tell that Heavenly was playing. Heavenly always be threatening to beat somebody up. And we know she not going to bust the grape. But it was just the way that she got so, like, quick. I said, Quad, calm down. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. So we get to the last segment. They have a cute little moment. They then talk about, like, is there a reconciliation between Toya and Anila and Heavenly? Honestly, what Toya says is, like, I forgive very easily, but I don't trust very easily. And they ended that way. They bring out two fine, good-looking black men, and they serving them drinks. They chestesses was all out, and I enjoyed it. But yeah, y'all, that was the end of the season. I will say, like I said in the beginning of the intro, that this could have just been 2 parts, and they could have found a way to, like, add this in because they kind of rehashed the same thing. But this overall season, I would give a B. There were moments where it was kind of ooh, and then there was moments where I was like, oh, okay, this is cute. And I was enjoying the mess. I do think that they should keep Audra and maybe add somebody else as a friend of the show, because I do feel like there needs to be some spice up in the dynamics. I do enjoy the cast, but I'm gonna need people to kind of chill, because what Simone said was true when Simone was like, if you're gonna forgive somebody, you have to let it go. And a lot of people are saying that they forgive each other, but they're not letting it go, and then they're holding on to things and it's festering. And I feel like there needs to be somebody or 2 people to come and break up the scene. I do think that Audra would be a nice, like, friend of the show, but I don't know, y'all. I really don't know. I just feel like if we keep going down this path, we might have another, like, Mariah and Toya situation by the pool. Where it's on, nah, bitch, nah. Like, you know, them tussling by the pool. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic and hop down in them comments below. Deuces.